We have our third and final candidate, Will Baker.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Will Baker, and I'm the Libertarian candidate for Pierce County Auditor. Why am I running as a Libertarian? Fact, polls show that most Americans support the creation of a third major political party. Fact, I am one of those Americans. And fact, on November 7th, 2000, the Libertarian Party did legally gain major party status in the state of Washington when 3 of their 8 candidates for statewide office received more than 5% of the vote in the general election. So here in Washington State, we are in fact a 3 major party state. Why am I running for Pierce County Auditor? I believe the number one issue in the 2002 county elections ought to be the illegal and unethical election practices used by the person who runs Pierce County elections and current county council members who have attempted to protect these practices. In 1996, I began to hear stories about election manipulation in Tacoma and Pierce County. I did some research and became aware of the following facts. Number one, all City of Tacoma and all Pierce County elections are run by the Pierce County Auditor, a public office that all Pierce County citizens get to vote on. 2, 3 of the last 5 auditors who have been, quote, elected, unquote, including current auditor Kathy Pearsall-Stipek, have ended up on the losing end of court cases as a direct result of their actions on the job while in office. That's every other auditor for the last 59 years. 2 of those 3 auditors went to jail. Personally, I don't see that as a track record that inspires a lot of confidence in the electoral process. Now, when I became aware of this, I wondered why I hadn't heard about this 59-year history of corruption from the media. So I did a little more research and became aware of a few more interesting facts. On Tuesday, January 23, 1996, a jury of 12 Pierce County citizens awarded former county auditor employee Sally Riccobono $741,000 because Pierce County Auditor Kathy Pearsall-Stipek had retaliated against Sally after she filed a racial discrimination complaint against Stipek. The Tribune and your moderator, Mr. Sego here, responded 2 days later with an editorial criticizing the jury. Now we go 8 months later, and on Friday, September 13th, 1996, Washington State Supreme Court Judge Charles Smith issued a restraining order against our current auditor for counting ballots early. Justice Smith ruled that Pierce County could suffer irreparable harm if this practice were not halted. The Tribune and your moderator, Mr. Sego here, responded 4 days later, I apologize, with an editorial ripping Justice Smith and the group that brought the complaint. So basically, we have a track record here of the Tribune going after anyone from a Pierce County jury to a state Supreme Court judge who has ever had the audacity to speak up against our current auditor's regime. And since the Tribune is the outlet for the Associated Press, whatever Mr. Segal decides to write is repeated throughout the rest of the state and the nation as gospel. And of course, now we have the Tribune getting involved with folks who are running TV cameras that are paid with taxpayer dollars. It's kind of an interesting situation. I became aware of this, and that was one of the reasons I ran for auditor. It gives me an opportunity to use the voters pamphlet, use public forums like this to bring this information out, because I find one of the best ways to deal with problems is to drag them out into the public spotlight. And I hope to use my campaign to draw attention and educate citizens throughout Pierce County about how elections are run in the hope that public pressure will force election reform. But one part of the election process that I would like to draw public attention to is the practice of holding candidate forums. Legitimate candidate forums that follow formats that ensure equal time for candidates can be a very positive thing for the community. However, there are some people and some groups that try to rig candidate forums by using formats that do not ensure equal time for candidates, or that simply ignore the rules of their own forum. And unfortunately, this forum turns out to be one of those types of forums. We have a moderator who has already endorsed one of the county auditor candidates. You would think that in a well-run forum you would have a moderator who could at least pretend not to be biased. I have two editorials up here tonight on the podium where after Mr. Segal endorsed Pat McCarthy, he not once but twice came out with reminder endorsements stating that they would name the people they had endorsed and also names of candidates who were unopposed in the primary. In both cases, it turned out Mr. Segal was lying through his teeth. Mr. Washam was unopposed in the primary. His name was in there. Pat McCarthy was endorsed. Her name was in there. In both cases, my name was not in there. I would like to invite folks, since we are running out of time here, to check out my website, PierceCountyInsider.com, where we have considerably more information than I've been able to present to you in this format. And I thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you. And since I'm not running for office, I'm not going to ask for equal time. Okay, that concludes our presentation from the county auditor candidate.